Alright everybody, welcome back for another video of Virtual Warfare, text-based roleplay fighting tutorial series. And today's video, we're going to be going over the body of Virtual Warfare, or the body of Virtual Warfare's way of writing. So, which we went over in one of the how-to videos, which was, I think was how to roleplay or how to T1 fight part 3. So this video will help players have a better understanding of what it means to add detail and what details should be added. So first is the skeleton. The skeleton are the 5 commands which are in the basic training. You know, if you ever checked that out a long time ago. This is the simplest form of engaging in an attack. And this is pretty much an exact replica of the word length used back in the ancient days. Since in today's day and age, tiers means word length, making the word length of the 5 commands equivalent to a T3 or T2 post. These commands are also used to resist the act of ordering, you know, by stating, you know, the approach, you know, what hand you're using, you know, the target, etc. The next is the flesh. The flesh are all the measurements used to bring out a fuller picture of the dynamics within the battle. These dynamics can be illustrated through a numeric value, simile, or metaphor. A writing scenario like this may be confused with New World, but this is not the case. The flesh is used to lower the chances of assuming particular dynamics used to legitimize certain actions and attacks. So even though you may approach an opponent to attack, the distance between the two may not be clarified, and though executing an attack, the speed and force of the object being used to attack may not be clarified. The flesh is used to strengthen the dynamics of the roleplay, not create an opportunity to nitpick. And finally, we have the close. The close is pretty much any detail that will help the overall picture of the roleplay scene, action, etc. by adding colors, lights, texture, emotion, etc. These are the details used to brighten the picture of the roleplay into a story with dialogue, drama, and other aesthetics. These details are what makes the roleplay fighting a roleplay. However, overdoing it can lead to potential filler, as such detail cannot aid or enhance characters in battle, but only enhance the beauty of the picture within the scene. Now that the body is explained, let's look at a hands-on view of this type of understanding and dig deeper into it. So here's a random scene starting with the skeleton. Though my character jumped high, it's not mentioned precisely how high, which is still okay. Simply establishing or acknowledging a general description of the required measurements to successfully block or evade is enough. And though the precise speed and force of the projected dagger was not established, the intentions to impale the ground establish a general description of the speed and force necessary to do so. This is also acceptable. There's a lot of dogmatism between how much is enough detail and what is the proper way to detail, to where 2 modern terms for writing styles were dogmatized, Old World and New World. As one is based on giving a general description, which is Old World, the other is based on presenting precise measurements for particular dynamics, the measurements for the skeleton, or New World. For New World, players are not allowed to give a general description. And for Old World, being mathematically precise really doesn't make a difference, but it actually makes things more difficult, because giving a general description of measurements is really all a player needs. For Virtual Warfare, both styles of writing are acceptable because measurements are used to strengthen the accuracy of the dynamics for actions in the roleplay to build a clear picture, not enhance their properties or magnitude, because it can't. This is so that the clearest picture possible can be presented to logically and fairly determine a winner without having the need to assume one, as though saying striking distance is enough to give a general description of how far a character is from their opponent. Presenting a more precise distance between the two simply builds a clear picture, as well as allow better control for the next move of a character by knowing exactly where things are. Even without precise measurements, because of the final intentions, which were to impale the ground, the dynamics will virtually be the same. And even though the measurement of time was added, it doesn't make the dynamics of the action more or less greater than what it already is. This lack of understanding comes from players who use the lack of precise measurements as a means to deprecate the scenario, when in all reality, the best assumption to legitimize the content of the action should be established. This keeps the roleplay flowing smoothly, honorable, fun, and easy, instead of nitpicking the simplest error to deprecate the entire match. Also, even adding too much detail to add aesthetics to the roleplay can be a problem in many ways. It can make the roleplay boring and drawn out by explaining or going into depth about something unnecessary or never to be mentioned again. It also breeds a gateway in potentially nitpicking detail already generally inscribed into the roleplay, which, instead of assuming the best to uphold the overall content of the scene, is used to deprecate the roleplay by overfilling the scene with unneeded measurements to confuse or demand the opponent to proceed with an equivalent response. In other words, if the opponent doesn't write like the player, the opponent is susceptible to being disqualified. This is pure corruption and is not an authentic way of roleplay fighting. I did this for many years in the past, going around fighting everyone and saying, "You never stated the exact dynamics and measurements of this and that." But in all reality, it was really for the things I only cared about or deemed necessary. If I was to continue doing this, using the laws of exertion, fatigue, inertia, etc., as a means to say, "You didn't state this," what would that make of me? I virtually wouldn't be winning any fights fairly unless I deemed that the style of fighting that I was using was a more correct way of fighting, established a community to back me up, and allowed new and fresh innocent players to believe that this style of fighting was the more authentic way, all the while shutting out all those who opposed to it. This is how I believe the modern terms of old world and new world became a believable dogma, when in all reality, precise detail and aesthetics were designed to prevent people from being cheated in a match, all the while keeping the beauty and creativity of a roleplay. This type of style is what virtual warfare is, which is a remastered version of the style used on my old site, which was AirG in 2005, which is a direct derivative of Dungeons and Dragons and the core principles thereof, as the laws of exertion will be used to present a clear picture of the effort, work, and potential of the dynamics within the scenarios, as well as resist the activity of being overpowered by neglecting the effects of fatigue, inertia, drawbacks, etc. There are honest and fair roleplay fighters in the world who do want the best for the role player, roleplay fight, and the overall arts of roleplay fighting. But New World and Old World are concepts being dogmatized to control the level of literacy permissible in a match. Virtual warfare existed before these concepts, and though similar on the outside, the systematic reason for adding detail is not. Virtual warfare was created to build a clearer overall picture of both potential and kinetic energy of the dynamics within a scenario, to open up new doors for roleplay fighting, not establish a means to nitpick just because something was mistakenly left out. Just because a player can write 1,000 words, explain abilities, write mathematical equations, post philosophies, justify points, and have a group to back them up, doesn't make them a skilled, experienced, or talented fighter, but only someone playing the role of a fighter, pretending to be one. Know your worth as a roleplay fighter or a role player. If you want to experience honest, serious, and fair roleplay fighting, Virtual Warfare has this core open where you could come to and dive deeper into more truths and knowledges about roleplay fighting. Everyone is welcome, and especially those who are eager to learn and become more knowledgeable about the core principles of what it is to actually roleplay fight or be a roleplay fighter. I do want to give a shout out to all the GOD members. Thank you for helping me. Thank you for being there for me, those who have been there for me. And but I do want to make a video in the future and give personal shout outs to people who influenced me in my journey in roleplay fighting, and just show some love to everybody who's been supporting me this whole time. And I want to thank everybody for subscribing to my channel and liking all my videos. And it's just good encouragement to see that people are tuning in to all the hard work that I put out to try to make roleplay fighting easy, fast, and fun. For people who are willing to learn. Even if it's just a thank you or a good job or something like that. Those are always encouraging to people to who are putting all their heart, all their effort into something, you know. So, you know, if you see somebody or whatever, just say thank you or good job, whatever, you know, encourage them, whatever, you know, because it really makes a difference. So stay tuned for more videos. Thanks for watching, and I'll see everybody next time. Deuces.